South Africa is in big trouble. The United States of America is renewing AGOA and they are kicking out South Africa. And this is a major slap in the face. South Africa is in big trouble. Why is this happening? Is it because the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa, laughed when he received communication stating that the United States of America wanted to be part of the G20 at the very last minute? Is it maybe because the South African president refused to meet a lower-ranked US official to do the handover of G20? He refused. Or is this because South Africa has been accused of genocide against white people? We're gonna find out about this. Fellas, shit is about to get real. I'm telling you, this is not your everyday kind of situation. And if you're South African, you better sit down and listen. And if you're African, I think you definitely need to understand this so you can understand what could potentially arrive in your country. What's happening right now? Well, there's a bill introduced in the Senate in the United States of America. What kind of bill? The bill is basically to renew AGOA opportunity to African nations. Who brought the bill? US Senator named John Kennedy brought the bill, but he put a very specific clause. The clause says we're going to renew AGOA, but we just don't want South Africa in it. What is AGOA? When was it created? AGOA was created in May 2000 and was signed into law by President Bill Clinton. What's the purpose of AGOA? AGOA is basically a move to get African countries to export their goods to the United States of America, creating a bond, a trade relationship between America and Africa. By doing what? By granting eligible African countries duty-free access to US market for thousands of goods. So basically, let's help these African countries try to develop so they can bring their stuff in our country, export their whatever they're selling, and we can buy it at a fair price and they don't have to pay tax for it. Isn't that a beautiful opportunity for African countries? Yes, AGOA has been good. AGOA has brought some very beautiful growth. What growth? Well, the economies of many African countries have significantly increased through AGOA. African export to the US, especially in sectors of textile, apparels, agricultural products, and automotive manufacturing have soared through AGOA. So in other words, very simply, easy English for some of us, the African economies, many of them at least, have progressed through AGOA by allowing African countries to send stuff to the US and selling at a higher price. Why higher price? Because the African market is not necessarily as rich as the American market. Whatever you can sell in Africa for $10, in the US, you could perhaps sell for $50. So it makes it great for the manufacturer. So many African nations were very pleased to have this opportunity by the US. Some examples. Lesotho on the map you can see here is a country that exports many apparels to the US. They make a lot of money. They have created a lot of jobs through apparel industry. Jeans and pants and all that's coming from Lesotho. Kenya export flowers to the US. Some of the most beautiful flowers you see in the US come from Kenya. They make a lot of money out of it. South Africa. South Africa's increased exports of cars. BMW, Mercedes, yes, from South Africa going to the US. South Africa exports citrus and wine. You drink some of South African wine in the US. So it's good for the economy of South Africa. However, of course, there's always an however, There's no free lunch. I'm sorry. Whenever somebody gives you something, it looks like it's for free. You must ask, why is it for free? Why are you being so kind to me? Well, what is AGOA? AGOA looks to be something that helps Africans develop. Is it only about that? Well, there is a policy lever on AGOA. What is the lever on AGOA? AGOA has often been used by the United States of America to get you to do what America wants you to do. Whether they say it or not, that's what it is. If you do things sideways, America will say, we are kicking you off AGOA. If your policies are not pro-Americans, you are going to be kicked off AGOA. If you don't vote for America's interests in the United Nations, you're probably going to be kicked out of AGOA. If in your country you adopt laws or regulations that are not necessarily profitable to the US, they might ask you to be off AGOA. Let's see some examples. South Africa, for instance, in 2000, South Africa blocked imports of beef and pork from the United States of America, citing a sanitary risk, meaning they were fearing something dangerous could be in some of those stuff. Or maybe the sanitary people were not doing a tremendous job with the pork and the beef. There was a fear of salmonella and influenza viruses in pork and beef coming from America. Why? Because perhaps they noted that America was not doing a thorough job in checking that stuff, those bacteria and viruses in the meat. So South Africa said, we're not importing stuff from America anymore. America was very angry. They threatened to kick South Africa off AGOA because South Africa refused to accept pork and beef that were potentially contaminated due to the lack of scrutiny that South Africa applies. What happened next? The resolution was in 2015 when South Africa agreed finally to accept pork and beef coming from America. So you don't accept our pork and beef because you think it's got disease? Well, we're going to kick you off AGOA. Oh, sorry, you can bring it in. We can bring it in. That's when they allowed it. Number 2, South Africa introduced an anti-dumping policy against US poultry. Basically, America export frozen chicken. You know frozen chicken, like a flerky, frozen neck. Do you eat chicken neck? I don't eat chicken neck anymore, man. I used to love it. I ate it until I threw up one day really bad. It was my last time eating chicken neck. Anyway, so America exports chicken pieces like a thigh, like a back, like a flerky. You know what a flerky is? To South Africa. So these are frozen goods. It goes for a very low price. Now, South Africa was not very happy about that because the price America was exporting this stuff was way below the local price. So as you can imagine, if somebody exports good in your country, but is selling the very same good at a cheaper price than your local producers, what happens? Your producers cannot make money because the competition is selling the very same product but at a very cheaper price. So South Africa said, no, we're not going to accept this. Well, America got very angry about that. The resolution in 2015, under pressure from the US, South Africa agreed to remove this restriction and allow 65,000 tons of US chicken annually duty-free to retain AGOA benefit. So you can't protect your market, or else you're going to be kicked out of AGOA, or you can't protect your people's health, or else you're going to be kicked out of AGOA. Well, this is not limited to South Africa. Let's go to Uganda. Uganda's right here on the map. On January 1st, 2024, Uganda was suspended from AGOA because Uganda refused to accept men liking other men. Yeah, that's Ugandan's policy. You can't do that here. We have our culture and our tradition. In our culture and tradition, we don't like men liking other men. Well, America say if you don't allow men to like other men, we're kicking you off AGOA. Uganda was kicked out of AGOA. Let's go to Niger. Well, Niger was profiting from AGOA until they were kicked off in 2023. Why? Because they say the government was not legitimate. The real reason, they say, was a military coup, undermining democracy. Well, that's happened after Niger asked American troops to leave their land. Americans were stationed in Niger. They had like a drone airport. They were surveilling terrorists in Africa through Niger. Niger said, no, thank you very much. You need to leave. We can do this ourselves. Then they were like, okay, we're kicking you off AGOA because you don't apply democracy. So I think you can understand, as much as AGOA has been good to many African countries, creating jobs and opportunity, it also is something somebody can use for their purpose. What could be the real reason why they come in for South Africa? I mean, is it because of the genocide against white farmers? Remember, Donald Trump accused South Africa of allowing a genocide against white farmers.
They're happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
Well, this was debunked when the South African government sent a delegation, including the president himself, at the White House to discuss with Donald Trump.
These are articles over the last few days. Death of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa, and it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that.
Where Trump shows pictures supposedly showing the genocide against white people, but later was debunked, saying some of the pictures were actually in the Congo. You see Congo on the map? That was actually Ebola people being killed. And also, the delegation of South Africa had this man right here, Mr. Rupert. He's a billionaire, a very good friend of Donald Trump. Listen to what he said about the genocide against white people in South Africa.
We have too many deaths, but it's across the board. It's not only white farmers. It's across the board.
So Mr. Rupert, who is a white man from South Africa, said the crime is not targeting only white people, meaning black people are also being targeted. He's saying we have an actual problem of crime we need a solution to. It has nothing to do with race. I mean, if there was really a genocide, wouldn't it be the perfect person to relay the information since people of his kind are being killed, supposedly? Can we say that genocide claim look to be not founded? Well, another reason why South Africa could be the target of the United States of America is because of the relationship with Russia and China. Pretoria has faced criticism in joint military exercise with Russia and for perceived neutrality in Ukraine war. People don't like it because South Africa, China, and Russia conducted the military exercise together. I mean, they're supposed to be friends, right? It's like, okay, because we don't like them, you shouldn't be talking to them. Or because you said you are neutral in the war between Ukraine and Russia, you can't talk to Russia anymore. Or you can't do exercise with Russia anymore, even though you have deals before the war started. In February 2023, the three countries held a 10-day naval military exercise in the Indian Ocean. We're talking about Russia, South Africa, and China. And this exercise obviously drew criticism from Western governments who saw this undermining South Africa's claim on neutrality on Ukraine war. So because South Africa is neutral on Ukraine war, they can't have exercise with China and Russia. I don't understand that, but that's what it is. Now, could this be maybe because of Israel? Because in 2023, South African government brought a case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, accusing Israel of genocide. Which one is it? Now, the question is, what can South Africa do? Because South Africa does need AGOA. Okay, so far, the economy has been stable. One part of it is because of the citrus, the wine, the automotive exports to the United States of America. What can South Africa do? Number one, beg. Yes, they must beg America. South Africa could launch a direct lobbying in New York or Washington to have a discussion with diplomats saying, hey, we're sorry. I know you're not happy, but please allow us to continue doing this. Is South Africa willing to beg? Number two, reaffirm neutrality. South Africa can go to the US and say, listen, we're just doing this for BRICS. It's just our cooperation. It has nothing to do with positioning ourselves with the East. We just BRICS. It has nothing to do with nothing. And by doing that, they must show the willingness to establish balance. So that means also bring America and do some naval exercise with America and have some counter-terrorism exercise with America so they can look like they're trying to be fair. Should South Africa beg or continue to do what it's doing now? Now, what is South Africa doing now? Well, South Africa is not passively waiting to be inserted into AGOA or not. They're already thinking that things could be going south. So South Africa is already diversifying its partnership in terms of economy. They're exporting beef, wine, they're exporting to China, to India, and many other places. South Africa is also looking into Africa and getting prepared to the opportunity to lose AGOA. So what are we seeing right now? What we're seeing is it was a South Africa that went to the United States of America looking like they were trying to make things right. Okay, like, hey, what's happening in our country is not what you think. But South Africa taking a very different stance now, looking strong. With Cyril Ramaphosa laughing it out. Saying, we heard that the communication saying they want to send somebody to attend the G20. Well, that's changed very quickly because the American representative of press attacked the president of South Africa, saying he was running his mouth.
The South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated by the president or his team.
You can clearly see things are not 100% between the two countries. Now, later on, after America said we didn't say we were going to send somebody to go and represent us in the G20, we said we wanted to send a chargé of affaires to come and take the handover of the G20 from the South African president. Did you hear that right? The United States of America refused to come to the G20. They said they were sending the chargé of affairs of the embassy. This is a lower rank diplomat below the ambassador to go and meet the president of a sovereign country to get the handover. You don't do that. You don't send a lower level diplomat to go meet the president. South Africa refused to meet that lower level diplomat from the United States of America. And that signifies something big. That shows you that South Africa will not let itself be bullied anymore. It's not because you're holding the braid that you have to guide my all directions. I'm not going to tolerate this. The reality is Kennedy's proposal is not law yet. Okay, it's a suggestion, it's a bill that must go past both chambers of Congress and be signed by the president before it becomes law. So it's up to Donald Trump to now decide after the chambers whether South Africa will be kicked out of AGOA or not. Now, the question is America willing to push South Africa too much? Because you can do too much sometimes and actually lose the ground of potential negotiation. And that will be something I don't think anybody want to do. Let me know how you feel about this. Is a good sense from South Africa standing strong or not? God bless.